Hello, it's Kane here with another digital painting video. Recently I've been painting some portraits, sort of fantasy type characters, just a way of working on some of my skills and figuring out where I need to work on in particular. And I think eyes are the thing that I'm still struggling with. They don't quite look as three-dimensional as some other parts of the images. I've had a little bit of trouble with noses, mouths, and all that, but I can kind of see where I'm going wrong with them and correct it as I go along. Not so much with the eyes, so this video is going to be all about me trying out my typical way of doing eyes that I have at the moment, and also having a little go at another technique that I've tried before but I don't have a lot of luck with, but it seems to be one that is very popular with many painters and seems to work for other people, but I've not quite figured it out. So the way I do it at the moment is I block in an area around the eyes, generally fairly dark, and then I draw in the whites of the eyes, and that gives me quite immediately a sense of an eye that works reasonably well. It tends to leave it looking a bit flat, however. You'll see here I've kind of done that too big. There's often a lot of corrections that I need to do with the eyes in particular. Often not being in the right place, too large, too small, that kind of thing. So here I'm just blocking in the area around the eyes, which is probably the most important bit for getting the eye three-dimensional. Without doing that, you tend to just have a drawing of an eye rather than showing the tone and the shape of it, and the fact that it is a sphere inside of the skull, and then there's the skin and the flesh on top of that. But it's just one of those things that I really struggle with, and I think a lot of people struggle with eyes. They are not only are they a difficult thing to draw, I think they are the thing that we most immediately look at and kind of focus on with an image. So I'm just trying to block in the overall shape of the eye, ensure that there's a sort of depth to the eye socket, as well as getting a reasonable idea of the eyelid and the kind of, as that picks up the tone and the light as it hits it. I've raised the top part of the head and the below where the nose is, just so that I'm not tempted to try working into that rather than the eyes, as that's the main focus of this video. Just getting the tonal ranges really. Just trying to block them. I've already sort of put the eyes in, and you can see that they work reasonably well. They still look a little bit flat in the actual eye itself. The area around it's starting to come together a bit. That's the issue, I think, is just that actual eye itself. Super speed to finish this one off. Give you a pretty good idea of how I do these. We'll get on to the other techniques that I want to try out. Again, just see me blocking in all of the main areas there. In the eye again, it's a little bit far away from the other one. And that's it. So it works pretty well. Still a little bit flat in the actual eyeballs. So I'll start with this next one. So I'll start with blocking in the overall shape of the face and a few lines just to show where the placement of the eyes and the nose should be roughly. Just get a rough sort of shape in and blocked in the areas where the eye falls as usual. And then I put in a few large circles which represent the eyeballs themselves. This is the way I've seen a number of people approach eyes, putting in the actual sphere and then working out the shape of the eye around it. I find this is a bit weird because you've got to kind of imagine what the size of the eye is in terms of where it would sit in the skull, which obviously you can't see. So it's a lot of just imagining where it would be placed and the size of it. And I can see how it would help in terms of getting an actual spherical look to the eye as you're starting with a circle, but it doesn't seem to work for me. I'm just struggling to imagine what this looks like underneath the flash. So something I keep trying every now and again. I just don't seem to be getting anything out of it. So I've drawn over the circles with the eye shape, and there's a jump cut there because there's always a point with doing eyes where I have to cut and shift things around because the placement is not great. But on this technique, it was almost everything needed adjusting: the size, the shape, distance from each other, the height of each eye in relation to each other. So it just doesn't seem to work for me. So I've basically just ended up going back into the style I was using previously and just blocking in those areas. I've kind of drawn in the shapes of the eye over that circle, so I don't know, it seems that it's slightly more three-dimensional, but the amount of work I've had to do to get to this place seems unnecessary. There's a lot that I did during that cut that was just fixing things, and I'm not sure if it just doesn't seem to work. I don't know if I'm doing something really wrong with this technique. If anyone out there watching actually has noticed anything that I've clearly done wrong or that I'm not quite understanding, I'd love it if you could just put a comment down below so that I can come back and have another go. But my usual technique seems to work. It's just not. It doesn't give quite the end result that I think could be possible with this technique if I could just figure it out. Anyway, that's just a little bit of eye painting practice there. I don't know if that's useful for anyone to watch, but it could be interesting if you're also struggling and get a few ideas on how I do things. Anyway, if you want to see more, like, comment, and subscribe. There'll be a few more videos with both me and Hannah in, I think, next week. Goodbye for now. Thank you.